It would be great to have someone who could do our work for us, right? Someone to prevent us from making mistakes. Someone to assist with our routine professionally and allow us to devote our time to communicating with our closest people. If only we could get results without wasting our time for nothing. Unfortunately, it's impossible in real life. But wait, Liteforex social trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.
Hi guys, good morning. 3rd of September 2019, 6:15 AM CET, 5:15 AM London, Piotr here, and we are going to cover RBA today, the decision within the next 15 minutes or so. Before we start, a risk warning as usual, guys. Please bear in mind, trading FX on margin carries a high level of risk, may not be suitable for investors. You can sustain a loss of some or initial investment, so please do not invest money you cannot afford to lose. Seek education, gain experience before risking real money. However, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. All right. So what is going on here? Dollar is stronger during the Tokyo session, approaching quite big supply level we were discussing some time ago. We are going to get back into the dollar during our pre-London open live market coverage, and then again during the afternoon meeting when we are going to cover US ISM. Here right now we are going to focus on Australian dollar because of this rate decision. Earlier today we had retail sales. The expectations were that we are going to get the weaker number than what we get previously. The truth is that we got even weaker number. So expectations were 0.2. We have right now, let me check correctly, minus 0.1, right, month to month. So that was weak. On the other hand, the current account was quite positive, 4 times bigger what the market was expecting. So that's some kind of balance maybe. So we are going to get the RBA rate decision. Expectations are no change at 1%. Don't forget that tomorrow we do have, so within the next 24 hours, we do have Australian GDP as well, plus Chinese KX services PMI. Anyway, it's a PMI tomorrow day. Of course, the weakening of the Australian dollar, one of the reasons is growing trade tensions between the US and China. We are going to talk about that more during pre-London Open. We are going to connect with Michał, so he is going to tell us more about that. We are going to focus on the chart, having in mind that especially the yesterday news from China, as well as Chinese yuan, right? Now everyone is talking about 725. We've been talking about this quite some time ago based on the comparison after the breakout. Today I've seen a few comments talking about 722, 723, 725. But we were discussing this some time ago already. Anyway, of course, the whole situation in China and even Hong Kong is not the helping hand for Australian dollar. So let's start with the Australian dollar versus US dollar. And here, it's big thing right now going on. as we broke through 68.50 previous month, ended around 67.30. And to be honest with you, let me show you one thing. At some point, the high which has been created in February 2009, high from the February 2009. So right now guys, you know where we are, right? In case of the Australian dollar versus US dollar, we are testing levels we've seen at the beginning of 2009, and we know what was that, right? So at some point, the high from that February 2009, that was what market was trying to believe in. We had 3 times the reaction at this level and quite nice bounces. So now, once it's broken, looks like the bottom, that might be the next target. I know that today it might sound yeah, a little bit unbelievable, but looks like we are targeting 63.70, 62.80 as the next, and then of course big psychological 60 number, right? 0.60 of course. So that's how I see the Australian dollar from the higher time frame perspective. Going lower, from the daily chart perspective, the late August low just been taken out. Some of the stops from that candle been taken out. It might be that market may want to target the low from the beginning of the August. In that case, we are talking about the 66.76, 66.75. So still 20 pips to go. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna place this additional line here as well. Green meaning the daily chart, and here from that daily chart, as you can see, not much support, right? It's that's how it looks. The only thing we can support ourselves based on this daily chart, we can try to find some ranges, and then trying to make the measure of the range and trying to predict if we are about to hold the bottom or no. Anyway, the first possible supply in case of the Australian dollar rally is the broken 68.50, right? So that's the first psychological level. Above this level, I think that closer to 69.30, 40 from the daily chart perspective, untested level, right? Sorry, 69.20. So that's how I see the Australian dollar. Huge sell-off going on lately, and no signs of the any kind of support, at least right now. We might see it. Depends on the market takeaway, but if it's really going to be unchanged, right? So at some point we might hit that stops when we are talking about the August low overall. We might hit the stops, and we might see some kind of the profit taking ahead of the GDP. That could be the case, right? You know, the bears here are you know, they don't have to be afraid that the dollar index is approaching the dollar basket is approaching huge supply, because of simply Australian dollar is not included, right? So that's a little bit different story, and I've been talking about this few times, that, you know, sometimes Aussie traders are using Aussie as a hedge, right? Because of that. Anyway, so that's how I see the Australian dollar versus US dollar. Let's have a look next what we have. In that case, let's check Australian dollar versus yen, and here the case is the psychological 70 level, and again we have to get back into the as November 2008 high, right? So that's what we are checking right now to try to get the idea what might be next with Australian dollar with yen. So here we go. Market took out previous week. Market took out some stops, all right, hitting, so 2019 low been taken out, all right, this huge Niagara Falls from the beginning of the year. So someone knew something at the very beginning of the year, right? Anyway, so we took out these lows, and we saw some nice profit taking since then, and it was very similar situation we had on the dollar yen, right? So there you go. I'm not sure if Bank of Japan is that happy with the current yen move overall, but of course yen is treated as a safe haven currency right now. You know what, we were discussing with Michał some time ago that if this trade tensions will between the US and China will grow, and if there are not gonna be the solution, we might see, we already see the Asian currencies are weakening, and the only yen is treated as a safe haven currency. But at some point, even with the possible trade agreement between US and Japan, it might, the whole beginning of this crisis might spread through the whole Asia, and at some point I'm not gonna be surprised that we, even with the risk of sentiment, we might see weaken yen, right? Especially if invisible hands of the Bank of Japan are gonna be involved, right? Of course, also the right now stronger yen. One thing is geez, it's too early for me. One thing is, of course, safe haven currency status. The second thing is, because of this talks with US, that might be another reason why we haven't seen yet the Bank of Japan in action. That could be the case as well. Anyway, nice rejection, profit taking. The first possible supply is around 72, 70, 73. So there is a little bit of the space eventually for rally in case of some kind of the I don't know, surprise from the RBA, which to be honest with you, I do not expect. So big range, 70-40 to the downside and psychological 70, and to the upside 72, 70, 73, and right now we are in the middle of that range. All right, 30 seconds left. Pound Aussie, testing quite nice support based on the daily chart, green line, but we are in the middle of the bigger range from the weekly, blue colors, right? So we are trying to hold 50% of that range, especially that, talking about some possible supply and demand zones, we have some kind of the demand around current level. So in case of the weakening Australian dollar, here could be the case. All right, let's have a look what we have. I'm not gonna to react immediately, so let's switch to 1 minute chart here. We have a spike on the Australian dollar, right? And as market expected, right? As expected, one of the reasons to see a little bit of the Australian dollar spike. But before we will, you know, fall into the euphoria here, let's have a look what were the next levels. So the key here might be daily open right now. Here is the levels close to the daily open. That's the daily open, and I think we might start to think about higher levels if we are going to close at some point here on this 5-minute chart above this possible supply. So here is at least attempt to push Australian dollar higher. So let's have a look, because in that case, if we are going to break here, right, you know, not necessarily I have to trade Aussie versus USD. Again, we might choose eventually Aussie yen. That might be the solution eventually. Let's have a look. That's the possible demand and being tested ahead of the decision previous hour. You know, the zone is quite wide here. As of now, we have upper shadow. So you know, here is intraday. In case of the, I think the key is daily open here, right? Again, stops been taken out here. I'm not saying that it might be some kind of the retest, because this candle right now, we quite didn't create the you know, beauty swing low. We are creating swing low, but if you remember in June we held educational webinars. We were discussing this stuff. So that's what we have. That's what we have here, and we quite didn't hit that. So stops were taken out for sure, and maybe another profit taking. But daily open might be the key here. We will see. Looking better here on this 5-minute chart. But as you can see, daily open right now, my work as possible supply. Let's check some comments. So that's where the fight would be good to see some kind, you know, would be good to see some kind of the either warmer situation between US and China, but probably that's not the case here, right? Or in case of Aussie USD, I don't know, some kind of the shock overall from the dollar perspective. Don't forget that we do have ISM later today. And here is the statement, the link to the statement by Philip Lev, Governor, Monetary Policy Decision, and there you go. So you've got your link. And don't forget that the US guys are back after the long weekend, so that might be the case that the real reaction, market may want to wait for the New York decision, right? What they are going to do. So a little bit more bumps on the road here. Anyway, in case of the move above the daily open, yeah, I'm going to start to look eventually for some intraday, just intraday longs, right? We were discussing 15 minutes ago. The picture on the Aussie dollar is black and, you know, doesn't look good right now. But we are testing some very important levels. So from that perspective, you know, from the intraday perspective, with this, you know, if no change at 1% is a positive news, then come on, okay, let's try to use it. And of course, because of that move, pound is falling, trying to test yesterday low. So this possible demand might not hold. So if that's the case, in case of the breakdown, we might see lower levels. But that's on this hourly chart, I would be careful, and I would take into the consideration the wave before the break and wave after the break, and you know, that's the levels. So stop count possible here, right, as you can see. And in that case, we may try to get these levels over here. Okay. And that's particular candle from the 21st of August, and we had this stop count and rally from here. But from the higher time frame, I would be very careful in that case, in case of the breakdown here, because we might simply retest 77. But you know, Australian dollar bulls, I think they need something additional to push Australian dollar much higher. This current especially yesterday, and we are going to get back during the pre-London live market coverage here on Liteforex Global YouTube channel within the next 1 hour 20 minutes. We are going to get back into the news which hit the market yesterday from the China, right? Especially the Chinese officials were saying that the latest tariffs discussion, it's not what was agreed during the meeting in Osaka in Japan, right? That's the first thing first. The second thing, what we got from the White House administration lately, it was yeah, everything is good. We talk to China, President Xi is my friend, and blah 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 blah. And of course, there are going to be a meeting in September, right? But what we got from the Chinese officials yesterday, well, the meeting in September is on the verge of collapse. Of course, we were discussing that Trump doesn't need this kind of the agreement right here, right now. He needs that, I would say, around 6 months from now, because we already have US presidential election campaign. And EURUSD, again, we have to check the monthly, and the monthly is very important here, taking into the consideration even what we've seen previous month, upper shadow, right? And we've been here quite a few times already, and we saw some kind of the rejection. The thing is that we are talking about here, we are talking about this financial crisis 2008, strong demand and strong push higher, right? Since we broke that level, what was treated as a possible demand here right now is working as a supply. In case of the clean break of 170, all right, I think we might see some kind of the retest of the higher levels, and that's the indication, right? That's the indication. So still, Australian dollar bulls are fighting here, because overall, come on, euro is below 110 psychological level, and it's opening 1.8, right? So yeah, Australian dollar bulls are trying to fight here. But even if weak euro is going to close above some certain levels with Australian dollar, that's clear sign. That's clear sign for me. Let's get back to Australian dollar. Yeah, we have this pullback. So let's get back to hourly. And guys, I'm not gonna be surprised if we are going to see the retest of this low because of the rejection from the daily open, right? And here is the key, the swing low. I think that the market may want to, I'm calling this finishing the business, right? So we might see even retest of 66.90, but in that case, we have to hold the low. When you think about the longs, the low has to hold. If you think about the shorts, then I would be very patient and wait for some higher levels. And in that case, 68.50, the breakdown level, it's what I'm talking is what I'm talking about. We need to clean some stops and see rejection, right? If market is going to look for liquidity, that's what we might see. So if you are not already short after the break of the 68.40, you don't want to chase the market here. At least I don't want to chase the market here. Okay, I may decide once we are going to break August low and some kind of the consolidation under one test, second test, third, and then lower, right? For example, like this. The other option from the intraday perspective might be that market will try to take out Tokyo high, daily high, try to create some upper shadow, right? May try to even hit yesterday high. So from the weekly chart perspective, trying to create upper shadow and then start to continue to move down. That could be the case as well. And from the intraday chart perspective, probably it's going to be worth to watch the reaction around here, 67.50, right? But you know, guys, we are going to be above daily open today. We are going to have some kind of the support. So it might be that it's, yeah, if we are going to go that high, it might be that we will start to create trading range, what we've seen here, So nothing for me here as of now, because the shadow here around this daily open is even bigger. So I'm going to watch if the low will hold, and if that's the case, that could be intraday long opportunity. And of course, from here, from the very low, retest of the daily open, that's gonna be the first target with very tight stop, and eventually move higher. I'm going to watch price action around the 67.40. The weekly open is also important here. Blue dotted line. But I think it's much more important what is going to happen over the course of the day, as again, don't forget, US guys are back from long weekend today, and GDP, Australian GDP tomorrow, so there might be a little bit of the light in the tunnel for the bulls here. Expectations are a little bit higher. Alright guys, we have another meeting within 1 hour and 10 minutes here on Liteforex Global YouTube channel. We are going to cover pre-London Open live, so of course we are going to get back to Australian dollar in case of the situation that something happened what we discussed. If one of the scenarios is going to be play out, I'm going to make an update within 1 hour and 10 minutes. So you are more than welcome to join me guys at 8 AM CT, 7 AM London. We are going to check what is going on ahead of the European Europe Open, and of course I will make an update about the Australian dollar. Guys, it was my pleasure to be this very early morning for me with you during this RBA decision. Unfortunately, as of now, nothing for me from the Australian dollar perspective. In case of the continuation of the Australian dollar strength, you know, US dollar is the strongest right now, so I'm going to rethink. In case of the break of daily open, I will switch and check what is going on, for example, on pound Aussie, if we might see some kind of the continuation to the downside, or maybe I will check Euro Aussie because of where we are from higher time frame perspective. There is some space to the first possible demand, so we will see. So yeah guys, it's time for what depends on your, of course depends on your time zone. For me it's a time for quick breakfast and then get back to you with pre-London Open. All the best guys, don't be trapped, and see you around. Thank you, take care, goodbye.